Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night Football. It's finished, incredibly. It's finished. Liverpool nil, Burnley 1. Welcome to the match reaction show. And I tell you what, if anyone predicted this beforehand, you got a very good chance of winning money on betting because you're probably in the wrong career line. You've got to bet on games because I did not see that coming. I mean, you could have thought maybe okay, well there might be a draw because that's possible, but I don't think anybody predicted a Burnley win. And I mean the questions just keep getting asked and they keep getting asked of Liverpool, and every week it gets more and more and more and more tough for them. But there will be a few questions at the end of this game, and I'm sure, and we'll get to those. But we got to talk about the game first, and we got to talk about Burnley. I mean, absolutely brilliant defensive performance. I think they took notes from what West Brom did, from what Newcastle did, and what Southampton did, and they kind of implemented all of those things. They kind of they basically decided this is the way that they have to play against Liverpool, and they just did that. They just played that game there. There is a secret weapon there that I'll talk about, but defensively, I mean, there's two banks of four. I mean, every time Liverpool had the ball, all they could think about was trying to cross it, trying to go to the center, whatever you had it. There was a Burnley defender there, whether to make a block, whether to make an interception, whether to make a tackle, whether to make some kind of sliding. You don't get the ball, but you just go across and just put off the goal scorers or whatever you can do. There were two moments of issues for Burnley though. The first one, of course, in the first half when Origi was one-on-one with the goalkeeper. I thought Ben Mee a little bit casual, a little bit complacent, and just placed the ball back to Origi. And you got to score that. I think that's just what it is. You just have to score that as a striker, and he just hits the post for whatever reason. And it's funny to see the tweets that come on. People are saying, well, if it's the perfect person, if you're not a Liverpool fan, that's the one who you want to have that sort of chance because you know he's going to miss it. I don't know. I don't know about that, but what I do know is that it was a glorious chance that he missed, and no striker should have been missing that sort of chance. I thought that was a golden opportunity. He completely fluffed it. And then the second half, there was one where Pope plays the ball to Brady, and Brady, I think, tries to be a little bit too clever and tries to go past. I think it was Robertson who tries to do a pirouette past him, and then it just hits him on the chest, and they go forward, and it falls to Firmino. And again, Firmino should probably be scoring from that as well, but then he misses it and puts it wide. So I thought those were two moments, but again, both those moments came from errors from Burnley rather than Liverpool playing very well. And I think that is an issue as well for Liverpool that they'll have to look at, is the fact that the big chances are coming for them from errors rather than from them playing really well and playing around teams or playing through teams. And I mean, I don't know. I can't really put my finger on what it is. Is it the fact that Fabinho is not playing in midfield? Is that an issue? Is it because the front three is so badly out of form? Salah looks like he doesn't. Salah's body language just looks like he's going through the motions. I don't know what's wrong with him. Firmino just looks like a kind of player who cannot, sometimes there are players in strikers when they go through such bad form, there are certain phases where they themselves start to believe that they can't score a goal, right? And I think Firmino just looks at that, like he can't believe that he's going to score a goal. He does not have that belief in himself that he's going to score. And then you start doing things where you start to take one or too many touches. You try to find players and pass it to them, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to take that responsibility. So you start doing things like that, and it just completely messes the game. I think Firmino is in that stage right now, and he needs to find a way to come out of it if Liverpool are going to come out of it. But I mean, it was just a very, very difficult to watch Liverpool in this match. It's just they had absolutely no ideas. They had died everything, and there's a few things there to note in that game. Just before I go to the goal that came, the one thing that I noticed is that there were a lot of crosses coming in the box on both sides, and Burnley have the height advantage, so they're never ever going to be in trouble with those crosses. But Liverpool are a team that scored so many goals last season from crosses. So what is the reason they're not working? And I think the reason is, as I said in this last game, I said, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold were basically, their MO is to make those crosses, but I don't think there were many crosses that were headed in. I think many of the crosses, the reason why they were so effective is the whip that they got from deeper angles. So they could put it in and players, could just run onto it and hit it with their foot, because Liverpool don't have height in the box. So they could just hit it, on the foot, or, the whip was so much that it allowed the players to kind of get ahead of their markers and head it in, Whereas today what we're seeing is a lot of traditional crosses where you're getting to the byline and then you cross it in. And those kind of crosses are never going to trouble a team like Burnley. They're just going to swat them away. So maybe there's an issue there, and it might have to do with the fact that they're covering. I don't know tactically what the issue is. Maybe teams have figured it out, and defenses are like, well, fine enough, we'll let you run the channels. We're not going to stop you going down, your left and then crossing it because we've got players who can do it. Maybe that's the case. Maybe the players themselves are kind of lost a little bit of that belief in themselves, and they're trying to take a couple more touches before to make sure that they get the cross in the box. I don't know what the issue is, but I think that is a massive factor as well in their crosses not being as effective as they used to be. And Liverpool are a team that relies on their fullbacks to provide the width and provide the attacking impetus. So you shouldn't rely on it. Liverpool have made it work, but I think this season they're starting to see the limitations of that. And the issue for Alexander-Arnold is that he's as good as he is going forward. He's an absolute liability going backwards. So if he's not giving you that forward thrust, then he's still giving you that defensive liability. Then really, what's the position? What's the point of playing him? And that's a conversation for another day, though, that they probably might want to think about having. But then the goal, and I think the key point here to talk about is that unlike most of the other teams, Burnley are one of the few teams in the league right now that play a 4-4-2. They're one of the very few teams that do it with good reason. Most of the teams probably would get slaughtered if they play a 4-4-2 every week. They do it, Burnley do it. And the reason why it worked, and the reason why it's so important is because today, I think we saw exactly why 4-4-2 can be effective. Because when you have two strikers up front, most defenders these days don't know how to play against two strikers. And, Fabinho and Matip had all sorts of problems throughout the game. There's so many times when they were winning the ball, winning those second balls. They're very good at that. And it just unsettled defenders because defenders are not used to doing this kind of man marking. And often, that causes a lot of problems. And so that's kind of what was happening. And you could see that when that ball comes in towards Fabinho, I just feel that because he's occupied with man marking Ashley Barnes, he's trying to think, should I let the ball roll to Alisson and not have to worry about it and take a pass? Or should I just try and do something with it? And he gets caught in two minds, and eventually he decides, I'm just going to let the ball go to Alisson because Barnes is on my tail here, so I'm not going to give him an opportunity by trying to control the ball and then having him on me, which is what man marking really does, right? It's like you got to strike on a defender. Ordinarily, if you had one striker, Fabinho would probably have been the spare man, or he would have probably not had to deal with the striker on his toe, so he can kind of control it, take it away. But because he's got two strikers, he's got to worry about that. So he kind of lets it go. He's a little bit lax about that. And Barnes does absolutely well to get forward, ahead of him. He gets to the ball first, which should never be allowed to do, but he gets it forward, and then he just takes that shot. And when he takes that shot, once he gets that shot, you kind of know it's gonna be a penalty because that's the way it goes. I don't think it was a penalty. I want to be very clear. I don't think it was a penalty. I don't think Alisson did anything wrong in that move. I think Barnes basically put the ball up and then immediately knew, and then basically went down. So it was a case of either it's going to go in the goal or I'm going to get a penalty, but one of those two things is going to happen. And I don't think it was a penalty. I really don't see what the goalkeeper could have done in that situation because he doesn't catch Barnes with his hand. He doesn't. What happens is on the follow through, Barnes, he catches Barnes on the follow through. But what are you going to do about that? You can't give it's common sense that you shouldn't be giving penalties for that. But I've seen them given. And if this was my team and it was given for my team, I would not be complaining. I'd be very happy. But in the reality, I don't think those penalties should be given. Right, so I don't think it was a penalty, but then he takes it very well and puts it in. I mean, it's no mean feat to get it past Alisson. Alisson's very good in penalties as well. So getting it past is a big Herculean task. And it really was the only way Burnley were going to score, which was a Liverpool error or the fact that they were going to get a penalty or something like that. And that's what it proved. And credit to Burnley that they shut Liverpool out. They deserved the point that they were going to get for shutting Liverpool out. But then sometimes when you do that, you sometimes get lucky. And you can come away with all 3 points, and that's what happened. And think about Burnley. The fact is they beat Arsenal with an Aubameyang own goal, and now they've beaten Liverpool with a Fabinho error. So there were 6 points that they probably will look at and say, that's 4 points that we probably didn't deserve, but we got them. Well, amazing, absolutely amazing performance. Take nothing away from Burnley, and it was a phenomenal performance. But where does that leave Liverpool now? And also important here for note is because the teams at the bottom have been getting wins. West Brom got a win of late. Brighton had one. Fulham have been starting to get a little bit of form. So this is an important win for Burnley. It just pushes them a little bit further away from everyone else. It maybe puts pressure on Newcastle now because Newcastle have got to start thinking about that relegation battle that's coming up for them. But it puts Burnley temporarily, at least, it takes them a little bit away from the conversation. And that's wonderful news for them. But what about Liverpool? What about their season? And the temptation now, and Klopp, by the way, before this game, Klopp goes, we're now in a top 4 race, we're not in a title race. And I think that's just mind games. I don't think he actually believes that for a second. He doesn't. I still don't think he believes that. But the fact is, that those calls are going to get louder. But I think Liverpool, I don't think they're out of title contention yet. I think the next 2 games are going to be important. If City win the next 2 games and Liverpool don't, then I think you can say, yeah, probably the title challenge is over for Liverpool. At this point, though, I think because it's so tight, 2 games is all it takes. If they win the next 2 games, City lose the next 2 games or draw the next 2 games, it's looking unlikely, but it could happen. Then suddenly Liverpool are back in the conversations. You can't write them off right now. I think you got to wait for the next 2 games to see if City can build a sizable enough lead. And the reason I picked City is because City are de facto the top team. It's not United, because if City win their game in hand, then they'll be top. So technically, City are a team that's in first, or whatever, whichever way you want to look at it. That's, I think, the important thing. It's difficult to say. So I think the next 2 games are going to be critical for Liverpool in terms of the league. If those don't go their way, then yes, you could say, you know what, yeah, maybe they're out of the title race. But for now, I think they're still there. They're just about hanging on, just about. But that's fine. That's totally fine. It's these things, they go in cycles. So right now, I think the main focus will be try to get their front 3 in form. I think that'll be the first and foremost thing. I'm also surprised about Takumi Minamino. I thought Minamino had a great game against Crystal Palace. Liverpool scored 7 goals, and that was the last time they scored, a goal. And you're thinking, my God, is anyone going to stop Liverpool? I did a video here. I said I can't see who's going to stop Liverpool, this season from winning the title. And then since then, they've not won a game. They've not scored they scored 1 goal, I believe, since then. It's just surprising to watch. And Takumi Minamino scored in that Palace game and seemed to be like finding his feet a little bit, and then he doesn't play a single game until now when he played the last 5-6 minutes. I think they need to find a way to bring him into the team. I think Liverpool have been over-reliant on that front 3, but it works because the front 3 had a common goal. I think now the front 3 is starting to look a little bit complacent. I think they know that there's not a lot of competition behind them. Because Origi is not competition. I think anybody who watched Origi today, if I'm Firmino and I'm seeing Origi, I'm like, well, I'm better than that. So, he's not going to take my spot. Jota probably is a player who could challenge, but he's out injured. So you've got to find someone. I think Minamino has got to be given an opportunity, even if it's, 45 minutes or an hour, just need to get him in the game just to see if he can provide some competition and force the other players to once again raise their levels, because they need to do that. Klopp needs to find a way to do that. So those are the issues. I don't think defensively Liverpool were that bad today. I mean, there were issues that we know about. We know Trent Alexander-Arnold is a defensive liability. We know Fabinho is not a natural centre half. We know that Liverpool can be exposed a little bit, on the counter and with balls over the top, they can be exposed. That we know all that. So there's nothing new. I don't think there's any new issues that uncovered for Liverpool defensively. It's the offense right now that is the issue for them. That they probably need to look at sorting out as quickly as possible. But the good news is, and there's a good news. The good news is the fact that the next game is against Manchester United in the FA Cup, and that I think Klopp is going to take the FA Cup seriously this year. I think he's going to. I think he's probably forced a little because of Liverpool's poor form, but I think also because there are no replays this year, I think he's probably more comfortable saying, you know what, I'm going to play my best team because that's what I'm looking at. So I think he's going to play his best team. I think that was the reason why Salah and Firmino were rested. I don't think they were dropped. I think they were rested, and they are going to play against United. And if they're going to be playing at Old Trafford, it's going to be United. It's the game. It's a game that everybody can get up for. So they'll be up for it, and there'll be a great chance for them. They can score a couple of goals, get back into form a little bit. Find their feet. And it'll be interesting to see what team starts on both teams. I'm expecting a couple of changes, but I still think it'll be a strong Liverpool team. It'll probably be a strong Manchester United team that's going to come out. So it's a great chance for Liverpool to get back into confidence, to get back into gear, and therefore I think that game is actually good. It's good that they're playing against United and not against some lower league team. In this case, I think it's good for them because they'll be able, because if they win, that will really give them a lift ahead of facing Tottenham and all the others. Whereas if it was a lower league team, Klopp might have done a bit of rotation, a bit of resting, and he might not have, it might not have the impact that it otherwise will. So I think that's going to be a critical game for Liverpool. And it'll be interesting to watch what would they do in the FA Cup. But for now, congratulations Burnley, and it's a wonderful result for them. 0-1, that they won Liverpool's first loss at Anfield, by the way, for 4 years. I don't know if I mentioned that. Almost 4 years. Incredibly amazing result. Lots to think about for Klopp. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about the result? What do you think Liverpool need to do differently? What do you think they need to try? Do they need to sign a centre half now? I mean, if Fabinho has had an issue in this game, do they need to sign a centre half? That's the question, isn't it? And that keeps getting louder and louder and louder. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Smash a like if you enjoyed this video. And also remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, really want to grow this channel, and we appreciate your support in helping us do that. So your subscription really helps in producing more and more videos. So we want to do that, and we want to help. We need your help in that. So thank you so much. Have a good day or night, whatever time you're watching this, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.